Okay, so this should be working now. And I'm sorry, I need to look into the person who became a channel member. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to say that username out loud. And I'm not even entirely sure how comfortable I am having your support. If that's what you're going to call yourself. So bear with me a few minutes here, folks. Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. So, I guess if you're still here, person who became a channel member, I could give you 5 minutes to consider altering your username. Otherwise, I am going to hide you off the channel. I'm sorry. And yes, I recognize old web shooter. It might be a reference to something. I'm still not okay with it. Because it's one of those things where even if you try and claim, oh, I don't mean it that way, I'm referencing this thing. Like, okay, I can't prove that whether or not you're lying to me, but the fact that you're comfortable using that word in your username at all, even if you think you're doing it ironically, and you're at the very least not thrown off enough by people assuming other things about you that you're okay to just leave it, that tells me enough to be blunt about it. So, yeah, that's an awkward as hell way to start the stream. Hey, everybody. That's okay. That's not as good a water as I'd hoped. But it's all right. It'll do. It's not the best Riesling I've ever had. I'm reading a series about alternate timelines. There's a bit where a character asks, what if our home timeline splits in two? And another says, I don't know, ask a physicist. And I really strongly suspect that was the author responding to fans who've asked him that, telling them not to think about it. I suspect my if I were the writer, my response to that would be, how would we even know that had happened? I mean, like, which is something that is often glossed over in a lot of alternate universe and time travel stories. They will contrive a technobabble way that, like, oh, well, we can tell that this changed, or that we're in this kind of universe. And like reality, and obviously it's all fiction. You can fudge an answer if you want, but like a more practical answer would be, you're probably not going to realize if your timeline got changed. For instance, not too keen on water myself, to be honest. Yeah, like I got a type of water that I like, but this isn't a particularly good representative of that type of water. Ah, well, what can you do? No way, I just became a member, now I'm panicking, it's me. It's definitely not. It is definitely not you. Oh my goodness gracious, is it not you? Don't worry about it, Gabriel. Just to double check. Yeah, no, it's definitely not you. I was just confirming that, like, you weren't the original person and maybe you changed your name. Like, no, the person that I have these concerns about might not be in the chat. They've got another minute and a half or so before I just boot them. So, did you hear that Oswald the Lucky Rabbit will be in 2D? I didn't. I don't know where I'd even begin having an opinion on that. Isn't he in the public domain by now? Feels like he should be. In Victorian England, they drank booze because it was cleaner than tap water, so they had a legit reason to drink all day. Well, I mean, they were getting their tap water from the Thames, so yeah. One theory I've seen says you cannot change your own timeline. Well, that's kind of the way Doctor Who operates. When it wants to restrict the Doctor's actions, it will set it up so him or her or they trying to do something would result in the Doctor crossing their own timeline, which is a big no-no. So yeah, that's not an uncommon one. Saw the new Spider-Man movie on Monday. What'd you think of it? Well, my review's up in my secondary channel, Council of Geeks Break Room. I liked it. It actually grew on me more the more that I thought about it after seeing it. Disney owned Oswald. I know. Well, see, I know Disney got it back, but he should have gone in public domain since then. Give me a sec. Actually, first of all, I gotta bounce this person. Okay, cool. So there's that. Oh, okay. So Oswald is in the same kind of public domain transitional zone that Mickey Mouse is in, which is that the earliest shorts that Oswald appears in, those are in the public domain, but the character and any later iteration, so like kind of like how you at this point in time you can use Steamboat Willie and that specific iteration of Mickey Mouse as a public domain character, but you can't integrate anything done with Mickey later, including having him in color. Oswald's kind of in a similar space where any iteration of him that is super specific to one of the cartoons that is in the public domain you can use, but the character as a whole is still trademarked, and any later things are still under copyright. If you don't mind people thinking that about you, that tells me enough about you, was kind of my take on the Plattner tattoo thing. I mean, okay. I do not want to talk about Graham Plattner. I will say that, like, and I'm not saying that, especially with everything else that's happened, that I necessarily believe him. It was his claim that he did not recognize the significance of that tattoo. And given that, as I understand it, he got it with a bunch of military buddies, that is an environment in which, unfortunately, those sorts of symbols get passed around and not everyone is brought up to speed onto why, or they aren't paying enough attention to realize, which still says something in its own way. But, you know, I don't want to talk about him. Have you seen the teasers for Buddy? It seems pretty interesting. I love the fact they're not showing much in the trailers because I want to go in for it to surprise me with how bonkers it'll be. I did see a trailer for that. I am kind of curious. I mean, the main sort of indie thing that I really want to see is Sex and Death at Camp Miasma, which is the new movie from Jane Schombrun. But I don't know when I'll get the chance to see that. So Epic Mickey saved interpretations of characters that are about to be public domain. No, like, okay. Specific cartoons that both Oswald and Mickey appeared in are in the public domain. The characters as a whole aren't, because trademark works a little bit different, a little bit weirder. But the certain specific works are now in the public domain. And no, Epic Mickey didn't exist because of that. Epic Mickey existed because Disney got the rights to Oswald, which they'd been trying to get for a very long time. They didn't really get very long to enjoy that before his earliest cartoons started hitting the public domain, but whatever. If your timeline's listened to, you can visit other timelines. Presumably, you'd start running into copies of yourself. I mean, I guess I'm not sure I have the headspace to try and sort interdimensional travel logistics and timeline splitting tonight. I'm over the using public domain characters in a horror movie thing, but Screenboat was fun. I didn't even know that was a thing. And I mean, I was over at the first trailer for what the Winnie the Pooh one. I'm like, yeah, of course this is what's going to happen. I can't super chat for some reason. Oh, I don't know why that would be. Huh. That shouldn't be the case. Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure why that would be the case, Twilord. I've been listening through the Battlestar Galactica podcast, and I'm curious what some examples of characters like Zarek that are actually done well. I'd have to like stop and think about it. I'm sure they're out there, but there aren't many. I mean, partially just because of societal reasons. Zarek, by his nature, is a revolutionary figure, and revolutionary figures are almost always villains unless you have unequivocally made them fighting something like the Galactic Empire. Twilord! Test, 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 test. Yes, that is a successful test. So, seems to be working now. Oh, can I just bitch about something for a hot minute? Just to get it out of my system. Because So, if you hadn't heard, YouTube is changing how they measure views on long form videos, because for a while now they have been measuring views on long form and shorts differently. For a very long time, a view didn't count as a view on a long form video if you did until you watched the first 30 seconds. Only then did it count as a view. The reason that YouTube implemented that was because back in the day, it was incredibly easy to just troll people and get your views way up. Because when a single frame of the video counts as a view, then like you can use the worst, completely most off-putting clickbait thing ever that clearly has nothing to do with what the video is, and people click on it, realize that they are being messed with within 4 seconds, click off, but that still counted as a view, which led to a lot of obnoxious behavior. I think the only good thing we got out of that was the Rickroll. But that was the reason why YouTube changed that ages ago. Well, they were having YouTube Shorts do the literally any amount of a view counts as a view thing, which that didn't bug me too much because that is how TikTok and Instagram Reels do it, and YouTube Shorts is designed as a competitor for TikTok and Instagram Reels, no matter what they say. But now they're going to make that the case for the long form videos again, which is so stupid because, again, that's how they used to count views on long form videos, and they stopped doing it for reasons that made sense. But now, in the name of standardizing and unifying what a view means to make it less confusing, they're now just going to make it all the BS, literally any amount of a video counts as a view. And as a practical matter, what that's going to mean is people like me, who don't pay very much attention to their shorts views, but my long form video views matter, my view numbers are going to shoot up. I don't know by how much, but I don't know, throw it out there, 25% or so. And there's going to be no rise in compensation because your monetization is still based off watch time. So all it's going to do is give a bunch of meaningless inflated numbers, which I suspect is partially the point. I suspect that they want to be able to trick investors by saying, oh, our views are up by blah, 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 blah this quarter, when it's just because they changed the definition of what counts as a view. I'm really annoyed by this. But I also want to get off that subject because it's not worth probably even talking about it as much as I already did. But bleh. God, that irritated me. I think the only thing that I was heartened by at all is the video announcing the change is just loaded top to bottom with comments from YouTubers that basically amount to this is a stupid idea. I left my own comment that said, well, at least you consulted with the creators on this platform before doing this. Oh, wait. But yeah, so I'm annoyed. Jason Newity, thank you very much for the super chat. Who will win, Dune or Doomsday? Okay. All right. I have my answer. I'm not going to change my answer based off this, but I am going to check something really quick. Yeah. Okay. So Dune Part 2 made $750 million at the box office. The least successful Avengers movie was Age of Ultron, which made $1.4 billion. What do you think is going to win? Of course, Doomsday is going to win. Now, that having been said, what might happen is that Dune will have longer legs and have better audience retention and will have a longer tail. But it's still not, like, Doomsday is going to obliterate Dune's entire box office on its opening weekend. Like, that's not even a question. The only question about Doomsday is how severe the drop-off is after the opening weekend. That's really the only question about that. E.L. Anderson, 8710. Thank you very much for the super chat. This is very generous. Hope you're staying safe. And yes, it is Mr. Anderson. Anyway, two things. I watched your Shining video. Loved it. As someone who is ambivalent toward the movie, thank you. Seeing Frozen 3 footage looks like a step backward. I know a little bit about it. I know it's well, I mean, we've known it's happening for ages. I didn't watch the footage because I don't care. Like, I don't even care enough to want to get worked up by it. It's, okay. So, if I remember correctly, they announced Incredibles 3, Zootopia 3, and Frozen 3. Of those three, Zootopia 3 has the most business existing because Zootopia, because of its setting and who its lead characters are, it can just be, and here's the next adventure they went on. Frozen 3 has the least business existing because every single time they add on more stuff, it weakens the very strong and very tight and very complete narrative of the original film. And then Incredibles kind of falls a little bit in the middle. Being superhero-y, it should lend itself to just being like, hey, here's the next adventure, except Incredibles 2 was kind of garbage. So, yeah. But yeah, no, I haven't watched footage of Frozen. The inevitable Frozen Thor crossover. Frozen! I haven't seen footage from Frozen 3 because I just don't care. Coyote Azul, hello there. I don't know why I became a riffraff for a minute. Hello. Insert quip here. Ah! Oh, that's a good one. You got me there. Jennifer McMahon Hawaii 78. Thank you for the membership, for supporting me. That is greatly appreciated. And Jason Newity back again. Busy super chats tonight. I appreciate that very much. What would you like a YouTube alternative to be like? Do you think it will ever happen that YouTubers will strike and unionize at some point? No and no. Well, I can't answer the first question with just a no. What do I think a YouTube alternative will be like? That is like asking me to fan cast or to, do a whole what if this person made this movie or whatever. Like, my brain doesn't work that way because my brain is going to scream at me, we are not going to have a YouTube alternative, barring a massive shakeup to YouTube itself. Because look, here's the simple thing. To make a living doing this, you have to go where an audience is. And every time a theoretical competitor or alternative to YouTube pops up, no matter what its pitch is, it inevitably runs aground on the same basic fact every time, which is there aren't viewers there. The viewers are on YouTube. So if you want to make a living, you need to be here. And even if you are successful enough on, say, Patreon, that you can get away with not needing the YouTube revenue specifically, you still need to be here, because if you want people to know about your Patreon, you have to make stuff where they can find it. Yeah. No, I'm going to say the word never. I don't literally mean never. I'm using never to mean unless circumstances massively change. For the foreseeable time, we will never have a YouTube alternative. And do I think YouTubers will strike and unionize? No, I don't. Some might try at some point. It'll never succeed. If for no other reason than because the nature of this platform is that literally anybody can be on it. It's very, very easy, and they'd probably deny that they would do this, but it would be very, very easy for Google to simply tinker with its algorithm, deprioritize every YouTuber who's trying to unionize, and just prioritize in the algorithm whoever doesn't want to be in a union. Like, the scabs are built in on a platform like YouTube. And unfortunately, like, the incentives of actual YouTubers don't align as much as you'd think either. Like, if something like Uber, when they try and unionize, in theory, everybody has the same incentives and the same goals. And on YouTube, while I'm sure all of us would like to make more money, other than that, our goals don't really align in terms of what we're trying to do, in terms of what we hope to accomplish, what we want the platform to be. I think the concept of a YouTube union is a beautiful idea that I think is completely impractical. That's not to say somebody shouldn't try. If somebody who's an organizer, because I'm not, if somebody who's an organizer thinks that they can pull it together and wants to give it a go, I will absolutely not naysay that. But I just don't think it's a practical reality. Jennifer McManus, Hawaii 78 again. Oh, Vera, I need to check out your Shining video. Do you like Dr. Sleep? I still haven't seen Dr. Sleep. I want to, but then every time I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch it. And then I look at it and it's a 2.5-hour runtime and I'm like, oh. Like an over 2-hour runtime really does kind of break my brain at this point, because I'm always behind. I always have so much stuff that needs doing. It's very easy for me to justify taking a half hour to watch an episode of a TV show that I haven't been commissioned for, or to even watch like an hour and a half or at a stretch a 2-hour movie. Once you get over the 2-hour mark, and like not by a few minutes, but by like a full half hour or more, it's real hard for me to get my brain to relax enough to justify taking that time. Which I understand is partially my issue. I would be very curious to see Dr. Sleep, because people who saw my video about The Shining and know my issues with it have said that either that they think I'd like it, or they at least would be very interested in finding out what I think. But yeah, no, haven't done it yet. And Twilord popping back up. Thank you for the super chat. Recently listened kinda blind to Percy Jackson, the Percy Jackson gay spinoff. I did not realize that was a thing. Okay. Need more gay urban fantasy that isn't courting or coming out recommendations. I do not read enough to offer recommendations. This is where I have to embarrassingly admit that I'm not as well read as I once was or would like to be. So I, unfortunately, no, I don't have any recommendations regarding that particular niche. I am all in favor of finding more of that kind of stuff. That is the kind of thing I would like to exist more. And speaking as somebody who really does not like courting stories, or coming out stories, I feel your pain regardless. Have you ever seen the Mickey Mouse cartoon called Runaway Brain? If I have, I don't remember. Were you ever a fan or get into the show Charmed? Nope. I knew it existed. I never did watch it. So I actually need to pop over to the Discord and check out the questions there. Reminder, Council of Geeks Discord is a perk for both Patreon supporters and YouTube members. So let's see what we've got here. What are your thoughts on the My Adventure with Superman version of Kara and Brainiac? I have no thoughts. I haven't watched the show. Given that the Critical Drinker made a video on Obsession, then did he make a review on the Odyssey? He did review the Odyssey. You could check his channel to find that out. Still on the Critical Drinker, given how he wrote a book, how come he wasn't hired by the Daily Wire, at least to my knowledge? I have no idea. You'd have to ask them. I don't keep tabs on these people to that point. And more to the point, I don't think the Daily Wire actually likes interacting with too many of the woke Hollywood must die crowd. I think they think they're better than them for the most part. Is at least certainly the attitude that they project. Like, the reality is a lot of these people do not like each other. I have a personal pet theory that Ben Shapiro hates Matt Walsh. Because I pulled a clip from his Odyssey review, and like I saw something else on his channel. I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And it was him. It was a video of him reacting to a video Matt Walsh made, and it's just him saying how Matt Walsh was an idiot. Now, like, it wasn't a political view. It was about, like, best acting in movies or something. But Ben Shapiro made a response video about how everything Matt Walsh said was wrong. And I watched, like, the first 15 seconds, and he said, my pseudo-friend Matt Walsh. I think he fucking hates him. I can't prove that, but call it a gut instinct. I saw your reaction to the trailer to Vision Quest, so I was curious if you had seen the show Blacklist and what you thought of it. I never saw the show. I've seen clips. They seem fun. I know the final twist regarding the character, and that has kind of put me off wanting to engage with the show. But the clips seem fine. I also want to know if you've seen the show The Librarians and what you thought of it. Librarians is great. That show's a lot of fun. It's really good. I like that show. Final question is, do you still have the hat? Well, given that the hat is done with a capital H, I'm assuming you mean the flat cap. And yes, it's hanging up right over there, just off camera. If I was feeling more motivated, I could get it and show you, but I don't feel like getting up. But no, it's right. Actually, technically, I have two flat caps, and I still have them both. But one of them is hanging up over there. The one that, like, I could in theory still kind of use, because, like, the other one's a little tight on my head, and at this point I have so much hair that it's really tight. That one's not too bad. If there's covert AI in a major movie or TV show, can you rely on anti-AI people to notice and post online somewhere pointing it out? I was watching a clip of the new BBC Natural History documentary, and someone in the YouTube comments were speculating some of the CGI models were actually AI. I decided it probably wasn't because I couldn't find any videos or blogs where people were comprehensively going over the visuals to prove they're AI. I have to be able to do that with other stuff that use AI. I don't even know how to begin to answer this question. If you're trying to crowdsource, is this AI or not? It's going to fail, because while there are some people who are very dedicated to finding and sniffing out and confirming that AI is being used in certain things, there are other people who just either don't have the eye for it, have some kind of grudge against whatever the thing is they're about to slander with the term AI, or are just, not paying very good attention and are being lazy. So you cannot rely. You cannot rely on the YouTube comments to sort you out on that. Do you think it's possible to discuss your creative ideas with AI and not have the result in some of your output being AI generated? No. And I'm I'm not going to read the rest because like you went on this whole thing of like giving a super specific. The answer is no. And I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I would appreciate if I could not be hit with questions about super specific use cases of AI and have the question amount to, but like, would this be okay? No. The answer is no. The technology is harmful. The technology is damaging. The answer is no. Okay? I'm not saying there's zero nuance involved. I went through this with the whole Hank Green video in terms of like how much you need to hold somebody responsible or feel that they have tainted their work. That is a case-by-case, situation-by-situation sort of deal. But if you're asking me if it's okay, the answer is no. It's just a question of how bad is it? It's bad. It's all bad. The only question is how bad. And I am not in the mood to parse and rank what's the worst. It all sucks. Okay? I wanted to stay calmer than I got, but sorry, I know that I've said this or something very close to it before. You know the Pearl voice actor thing? If that came out while Steven Universe was still on, or there was a similar revelation about a voice actor on a different pro-queer cartoon, would you want them to recast? I don't. All right, so here's what I'm going to say about that. I get hesitant about saying definitively this is what should always happen in these situations because nothing is ever always. Here's what I will say. An actor should be removed from a project if they are a hazard to the other people. So, like, this is why anyone who has credible misconduct allegations against them should absolutely be removed from their current projects because that's not about canceling. That's about keeping the other people who work on the thing safe. Now, when you're talking about a voice actor, that's not really in the mix. So what I would say in a situation like that is I would very much like to hear from the person running the show why they end up doing what they do. Meaning that if they do recast, I'd like to hear their justification as to why. Not that I would question that decision as much. I'd probably understand why. But if they decide to keep that person on, I would like to hear the reason why. Now, I suspect there's almost no answer that they could give me that would make me okay with that decision personally. But I would want to give, if the decision was made to keep somebody like that on a show, I would want to hear the justification before I leap to judgment, simply because I do think the answer to that question is going to impact to what degree and from what direction I am judging the decision, if that makes any sense. Since you made note that most grifters didn't target obsession, do you think it could be something to do with the fact that 52% of white women voted Trump last election and they don't want to make it obvious to that audience that they don't actually care about women's safety? No, that's a no. No, I don't think that, no. I don't think that's anything that is anywhere in the conscious thoughts of those kinds of people. I don't think that's in the conscious thoughts of most people. I don't think anyone's adding that to their calculus. No, sorry, I'm confused by the logic of the question. Do you agree or disagree with Kevin Feige when he said the Thanos buildup has built up in people's heads over the years? Yes and no. He is right, but not as right as he wants to be. He is right in that at this point, people think more of the Thanos buildup because we saw where it was going and we saw the payoff. Once the payoff is really good, it makes you feel like the buildup like really worked and did a lot. But that's hindsight. So he's right to a degree, but I know he's saying that as a defense for there being literally zero buildup for Doom, and he's wrong about that. So he is right that Thanos buildup has been sort of become a matter of it's gotten a nostalgic glaze in a lot of people's minds. He's right, but not to the point that it's irrelevant, because again, Thanos was set up in 3 movies prior to him showing up in Infinity War. And it's not even just his appearances. The damage that we saw that had clearly happened to the characters of both Nebula and Gamora was centrally rooted in what he did to them in raising them. So it's not just how many times he showed up. We saw his impact on characters we grew to care about, which also built him up. And I bet you Kevin doesn't take that into account at all. So he's right that it's been built up in fans' heads, but he's wrong that that means that there's no problem with Doom having no build-up. It's one of those cases where your statement is correct, but it doesn't prove the point that you're trying to make. Why do you think it is that at the time of Spider-Man 3's release, it was common sentiment that 3 villains is too many for a superhero movie, but in the current age, when a superhero movie has 3 or more villains, people rarely seem bothered by it? Well, I think there's a couple of things that have changed. The first is, because we now, especially with Marvel, we now live in the age of the franchise. It used to be that if there's 3 villains in your movie, you are introducing and dealing with and closing out the stories of all 3. Like, that's Spider-Man's problem. It's not that there's 3 villains. It's that it is simultaneously introducing 2 of them for the first time, trying to give us enough background and time with them to care about them, and finally defeating them for the first time. Harry's the only one who gets the benefit of previous films worth of build-up, but he still has to have his story tied off by the end of this. That's the problem more than the raw number of it being 3. 3 is not like a cursed number. It was the fact that 2 out of 3 of them had no build-up prior to that, which meant they had to be introduced, explained, and then dealt with because they weren't going to appear in anything later. Whereas now, if you have 3 villains in a movie, and not every time, but this is one of the first things that changed, which is that you can have these characters who could have been introduced prior and don't necessarily have to have their stories fully closed out by the end of the movie because they can be picked up on in a sequel. So it gives breathing room that Spider-Man 3 just flatly did not have. I think the other big problem for Spider-Man 3 is it really kind of tried to have 3 villains with equal billing or close to it. Whereas take something like, hold on, I'm trying to think which one I want to go with. The Dark Knight has 3 villains. You want to be technical about it. Joker, Two-Face, and Scarecrow appears near the beginning. There's 3 villains in that. Doesn't matter because they're not sharing equal billing. Joker is the big villain. Scarecrow is a cameo at the front end and then discarded for the rest of the movie. And Two-Face has his story built up over time, but he's not a villain until the tail end. So Spider-Man's issue was both that it was trying to do way too much in one movie, and it's not necessarily about the number of villains, but also in addition to that, it tried to give them equal billing. That was Spider-Man's problem. So it's less that the landscape changed and more people realized the very specific mistakes of that movie. Oh, goodness. We have a fair bit more super chats. Wow, we are staying busy tonight. Jennifer McMahon, Hawaii, 78. Thank you very much for the super chat. One of my favorite series is Lost Girl. It was on Sci-Fi, ran for 6 seasons. As a bisexual person, I really enjoyed the series because it wasn't blatant about it. I heard of Lost Girl. I had some friends who were fans. I never got around to that one. So, unfortunately, I myself do not have an opinion. Jasonuity, thank you for the super chat. Have you heard Epic the Musical? I have. It's good. It's fun. Some of the songs I would personally tinker with. I say that. What an arrogant thing for me to say. I can't write music. But some of the songs I have notes for. But for the most part, it's a real good time. DJ Lol5. Is that a play on lo-fi? Anyways, thank you very, very much for becoming a channel member. Hi, hope you're doing great. Screw AI. Yes, indeed. Jason Newity back again. Speaking of AI, what do you think of the end of Oak Street being marketed on an AI-generated dog podcast? As far as I know, the movie itself has no AI bits still. That was an incredibly stupid marketing stunt. Like that, I don't know. Whatever marketing person came up with that and or signed off on it should be fired. That was so stupid. It's actually doubly stupid if the movie itself has no AI in it, because it brings the question. This is actually something that Supergirl is going through right now, because it was found out that while there's no AI assets in the film, so far as we know, what did happen is they used AI to come up with concept art for Jason Momoa as Lobo, which is so incredibly stupid, because now it has people re-examining the Lobo design and going, wait a minute, this aspect here, is this there because someone made an aesthetic design choice, or because AI did something weird and you just kept it? Like a good example, if you look at, hold on. If you look at an image of him, especially on, like there's a bit where his arms are exposed, and he's got these weird sort of lines going down the arm. They look like tattoos, but they don't correspond to anything from the comic. And so I saw a short earlier today where somebody's like, okay, did you do that to cover up Jason Momoa's actual tattoos? Was there some other artistic reason you put those lines there? Or were they a result of the AI taking in a whole bunch of pieces of art that have a lot of detailing on the arms, because his arms are drawn as very muscular and very hairy and with a lot of cross-hatching, and that's just how the AI interpreted it, but now it's in the movie. And that may or may not be true, but once you find out AI has been used at any part in the process, that is a valid thing to now doubt. This is why AI cannot touch an artistic project at literally any point in the process. Yes, I see that you clarified your question, 255. This is directed at you too. The instant you use AI at any point in the process, while you can argue until the end of time, oh, but it's only for this tiny thing, it didn't impact anything greater, you cannot be trusted for that. Anyone who finds out that you used AI as part of your artistic process is fully within their rights to question literally everything and or to fully disengage. The reason why AI has no business in art is AI cannot make an artistic decision. Take those lines on Lobo's arm. If a human being had designed that, there would be a reason. Maybe not a good reason, but there'd be a reason. There'd be an artistic intent. If AI did it, then it's just a thing that happened. And there is no longer any purpose in trying to parse or seek meaning in a piece of artistic work if AI has touched it, because everything AI does is without meaning and without artistic intent and without a specific artistic purpose, goal, or end result in mind. It just does stuff, and it has no meaning. No meaning is put into it, so you cannot take meaning out of it. Not really. And so any amount of AI use in any artistic work, written, visual, audio, I don't care what it is, the instant AI touches it, anyone who finds that out has every right to question or devalue the entire thing, because now we can't trust that any artistic decision was actually a decision instead of AI just... You get me? I have thoughts on this subject. Can you tell? Hang on. Twilord, thank you very much for the super chat. Really enjoyed Time Trauma, Hades' Son from 1920s and modern Sunny Apollo son are dating. This is the thing with any romantic tension being how they work through it. Huh. interesting summation. Took me a second to wrap my head around it, but okay. Jennifer McMahon, Hawaii 78. Thank you very much. You've been very generous tonight. Did you hear that Universal Studios wants to do for Halloween Horror regarding obsession? They want Nikki to pop up in like random areas. I'm like, excuse me. That movie was a assault allegory. I had not heard that. I'm not shocked that they're doing that. Here's the thing. I personally don't have an issue with the general idea of labeling what I'm just going to call Wish Nikki, because it's very important to remember that's not Nikki. I don't necessarily have a problem with Wish Nikki being labeled like a horror icon, because for everything that the movie is ultimately about and is saying, all of the iconic horror moments are done by Wish Nikki. So I don't think it's necessarily in bad taste to label that as iconic horror antagonist. And I am willing to call Wish Nikki an antagonist. Notice I didn't say villain. Bear's the villain, but Bear doesn't do horror movie villain stuff. So, like, for the purposes of what is the iconic horror moments, Wish Nikki, that makes sense. I do have a problem with that becoming a marketing tool and treating it the same way that you treat Freddy Krueger or Jason or stuff like that. That does make me go like, could we just not? Yeah. Yeah. Not a fan. Not a fan. DJ Lol5. Thank you very much for the additional super chat. You think the X-Men film will include the 97 song? Almost definitely. I mean, they when they did the Tom Holland movies, they made use of the old Spider-Man, and just redid it all orchestral, and that was the theme for that. So yeah, I can't imagine they wouldn't. AI is the equivalent of plagiarism. That's the best way to look at AI when it comes to creativity. Honestly, yeah. Once you found out somebody has plagiarized one thing, even if it is actually a fact that they never plagiarized anything else, you can't trust that to be the case. AI art is like seeing a human face expressing emotions but knowing there's no actual mind behind it. No, AI art is like seeing the Virgin Mary in a bit of mold on the side of a side of a building. It is people trying to project meaning on a thing that just happened. I saw a story I didn't know was AI till a few minutes in. After a few minutes, I realized it was getting quite boring, and a lot of phrases and ideas seem to be repeated over and over again. Yeah, especially when you get like AI slop things that try to go on for a while. They love to get repetitious. I think, though, Wish Nikki is also symbolic of mental illness. I mean, that's a reading you could do. Not sure I'd be inclined to do it, but I wouldn't say that's an invalid reading. Although, if we're being fair, many horror icons are some form of, mental or physical illness, abnormality, etc., etc. So, I mean, if we're gonna start drawing that line, then we need to throw a lot of the horror canon out, to be frank. And like, look, this is all a very valid reason to especially not like horror movies or horror as a genre in general. It tends to dip into this stuff and treat it as a idea bucket, and maybe some of these ideas shouldn't be treated that way, or at least not the way a lot of horror things do them, or at least not the way horror marketing does them. Because even if you get a really good horror story or movie or book out of this idea, if it's really successful, someone's gonna bastardize it by marketing it as, ooh, look at this spooky thing, and then you've just devalued the whole thing. But now we're into the innate issues with horror as a genre, with slashers as a subgenre in specific, and with capitalism as a whole. Burn it all down, baby! Ah. Enjoying that wine. You go. I get hot flashes with it, so I'm a teetotaler in the summer. No, thankfully I've been spared hot flashes as yet. I'm really struggling to see how AI can be used for good because a lot of AI chat bots like Gemini and ChatGPT cause their users to take their own lives. I mean, for legal reasons, I will push back on the idea that it's a lot, but it is an issue that has happened. Like, all right, I think I'm going to try and word this in a way that won't get me in trouble. So I've talked in very broad strokes before about how I've had occasion to be roped in to test upcoming intended or future AI features of some of the sites that I have content on. And generally, I do this as paid surveys because I want to be paid for my time. But I also do it because I don't want the only voice that they get as feedback to be people who are pro AI. Because I know most people who are anti AI wouldn't even engage with the thing enough to be able to fill out these surveys. And I want to do that simply so that there is somewhere in the data somebody who isn't just a sycophant. And to be clear, I don't just go into these things with the intention of like spewing an entire rant of how AI is destroying the environment and wrecking the economy and destroying the job market and everything else. I might note that here and there, but I do actually try to honestly, to the best of my ability, engage with this stuff and tell them sincerely why it sucks. And the reason I bring all this up is the most recent one that I had to test. And again, I'm going to have to be super vague about this. It took inputs of a finished piece and offered critiques on what it thought would make it better. And what became so obvious to me so fast is so many of these critiques and revisions were so minute and tiny and nitpicky or vague and just like a buzzword that it dropped in. It became so obvious to me so fast that it was designed to give some kind of advice. Like it probably has a word count minimum, honestly, if I were to guess. Because if it came back and said, this is fine, no changes needed, then I'd never use it again. Or at least I wouldn't keep using it right now. Because like, oh, it told me everything's fine. So instead, it's very clearly designed to make these suggestions, even if those suggestions don't make sense. And in one case, they literally didn't. It literally gave me advice based off a completely false premise because it had misunderstood what the original input was. And it still offered me advice on it. And it's very clear that it was given simply so that it could offer me something. Because these things will never be programmed to tell you this is fine, you don't have to change it. For the same reason that they will never be programmed to say, I don't know the answer to that. Because they are built for engagement and use, not for actual utility. What movie are you excited to see coming up this year? I cannot wait for Clayface. I'm hesitant to say excited. I am hopeful for Clayface. I don't get excited that often. I'm hopeful for Clayface. I'm hopeful for The Forgotten Island. And I am hopeful for Wildwood. I think those are the big ones I've got left this year. That's not to say those are the only things I might see, and I might not even get to all those in the theater. I'm really bad about getting out to the theater. But those are ones that I'm hoping to see in the theater. I've written almost 300 pages of my story so far. Art takes dedication. Gen AI is pure unethical laziness. It really is, because anyone who uses AI saying, I need this to make art, like, you didn't make art. Art is not just the end result you get. Art is the process you went through to make it. Art is the years of honing your craft. Art is the revisions and the sweat and the tears and the going back to square one. Art is not having the end result. But of course, it's a very capitalism-brained thing to think. All that matters is end product, because end products sell. The process doesn't matter, but it does. The process is what makes it art. Honestly, far, far more than the end result. It's why bad art is still art. Somebody still had to go through the process of trying to make that, trying to build that, trying to refine that, trying to hone their ideas into a final product through their own sweat and energy and time. Bad art is still art. AI art is not. It reminds me of a little how I don't feel obligated to try and get myself thrown out of a jury because I'm a prison abolitionist. I've only been called for jury duty once, and I was dropped. I don't know why, but yeah. Coyote Azul. Another sarcastic quote inserted here. Ha! Good one, and gotten just under the wire, because it is about time for us to wrap this up. Do you have any advice for people who want to write and publish a book? I have no publishing advice. I am self-published, and I very deliberately self-published in a way that was basically going to guarantee I did not make as much money as I could. I say deliberately, it wasn't a goal to make less money, but I prioritized things other than it selling well and making me a profit. So I am a very bad person to seek advice from with publishing, even self-publishing. I'm not a great well of information. As far as advice on writing, make it a habit. Work on it every day. This is advice that I am bad at, by the way, but make a habit of working on it every day. Page a day. Don't try and overshoot that by too much, because that's how you burn yourself out, by seeing like how much can I write in a day. Don't do that. But make it a habit. Work on it a bit every day. And practice. Like, your brain is a muscle. Work it out. And writing is an art form. Practice your craft. You don't get better at anything unless you practice at it. That's my writing advice. The Baba Duchess, thank you very much. AI was used in the line reading part of my eye exam today. I hate this. I'm like, ugh, ew, that's awful. Anyways, I am going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for joining me, folks. Thank you for everybody who contributed to Super Chats. We were busy with those tonight, and I really do appreciate that. And thank you for everyone else for just being here at all. I appreciate your presence. I appreciate, you chatting with you, just being here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Last minute super chat sneaking in. Twilord. I've seen some AI attempts to do crossover images as like the Smash Brothers fan game problem on steroids. Yeah. Yep, sounds about right. So thank you all very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves out there. Be well, be safe, be kind, and please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council. I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!